August 4th Blue Springs City Council meeting. If you will stand with me, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. I'll now call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is confirmation of a quorum.
Councilmember Kaler.
Present.
Tholen.
Present.
Rummel.
Present.
Erickson.
Here.
Edmondson.
Here.
Rowan.
Present.
Mayor Levesey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next item is the consent agenda. I have a request from Councilmember Kaler to pull item 3G. Do I have a motion to approve everything but 3G?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Mayor Levesey.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Councilmember Kaler, item 3G.
Thank you, sir. I'm just wanting to make sure, and I'm just curious, if we have cut anything or are we going to cut anything from this project before we even get started. You know, we had a similar situation with the Aquatics Center, and Councilman Erickson and myself was very vocal about not cutting anything and leaving it as it was to that everybody was talking about, to make sure we get the amenities that we were wanting to get. I'm just wanting to make sure, I don't want to settle for something second best. I think we need to have the state of the art. If we're going to do something, let's do it right. And kind of like we did with the remodel of the City Hall, kind of the way we did with the police station. I know those are different aspects of the city, but we also did that up at Parks Maintenance Building that they did a jam-up job redoing it. And I just want to make sure we're going to have a state-of-the-art facility to take care at City Garage. And that's
Okay.
my issue and my worry.
Staff, do you have any thing to offer on that?
Yes, actually, the scope of this project has grown over the years. It was originally planned about 8 years ago, and so as we got into the planning for this project, the scope and the budget has increased to ensure that we do cover everything. As with most projects that we do too, though, if we have to make reductions to stay within the budget that we're allowed, we definitely do that. And this project includes adding space for police training room and police, and so they're also contributing to this project. So that is the scope of this project, and this is just adjusting that scope to increase it.
No, sorry, Your Honor. I'm just making sure. That's my concerns. I just don't want to get a second and not have the top of the state of the art. And I think our employees deserve the state of the art to work within.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Erickson.
could I move we accept item G?
Okay, got a motion to approve item 3G. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Councilmember, does that answer your question? Councilmember Kaler?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is this just a voice vote? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Item 4 has been withdrawn by the applicants. We'll move on to item 5, which is public hearing of Boulder Springs rezoning and general development plan. If staff will be sworn in and give us, well, I guess you'll read the item to the record first.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. City Council information form dated July 29th, 2025 with the following attachments. Staff report with attachments, application with attachments, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on July 12, 2025, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letters sent to said property owners, Title 4 Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinance by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, bill approving the rezoning, and bill approving the general development plan. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Now staff will be sworn in. Give us your report.
Do you solemnly swear over the testimony you're about to give this case to be the truth, so help you God?
I do. So Chantel Fry, 903 West Main Street of the city. I have been sworn in. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Before you this evening is a request for a rezoning a general development plan, and a preliminary plat for Boulder Springs, which is a proposed single-family development located south of Southeast Sunnyside School Road and west of Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway. The current property includes one parcel and is approximately 35.6 plus or minus acres and is currently zoned agricultural county. The first request is to rezone the subject property from the agricultural county to an SF7, the single-family residential district. The subject property cannot be developed under the current zoning district, and prior to any development activity, a rezoning must be completed. The 2014 comprehensive plan includes the subject property as a neighborhoods, which is defined as areas for residential living arranged in a connected pattern of streets and blocks to provide access to civic and neighborhood amenities. The C2 area plan classifies the subject property as a detached housing mixed with small-scale multi-unit housing. The intent of the SF7 zoning district is defined in section 404.080 and is intended to accommodate and protect moderate density residential development as part of the overall neighborhood development patterns identified in the comprehensive plan. Neighborhoods to the north, south, and west of this property are currently zoned SF7, the single-family residential. The second request is an approval of the general development plan, which will cover the north portion, which is a 35.6 plus or minus acres. The proposed general development plan will include 92 single-family homes, a walking trail, and a pocket park. The property is proposed to be developed in one single phase. The applicant is proposing 3 total access points, with 1 being off of Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway and 2 being through the adjacent neighborhood of the Keystone Estates, which has a direct access to Southwest 7 Highway and Southeast Double A Highway. The access on Adams Dairy Parkway one will be for the entering of traffic into the neighborhood, 1 for traffic turning left or going northbound onto Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway, and 1 for traffic turning right or going southbound on Southeast Dairy Parkway. The 10-foot wide multi-use path along Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway will remain, and the applicant will be required to install the 5-foot wide ADA compliant sidewalks on both sides of the proposed streets. The proposed land use is the detached housing, and the proposed density is approximately 2.62 units per acre. Each lot will be 66 feet minimum frontage width with a minimum of 7,521.46 square foot lot size. The front setback will remain as the traditional for SF7, which is a 25-foot side setback, or 20 feet setback from the front, and a side setback 8 feet, and a rear setback of 15 feet. The conceptual elevations shown here will have the 2-car garages, which will meet for the off-street parking requirement. The conceptual elevations of the houses will include a mix of 1- and 2-story houses with a masonry, vinyl siding, and decorative elements. Since there's not an established minimal livable floor area directly adjacent to the development, the UDC states that the Planning Commission shall designate one. The applicant is proposing a minimal livable floor area of 1,200 square feet for all proposed lots. The properties to the west, Keystone Estates, does not have an established minimal livable floor area, but the block directly adjacent to the development has an average building area of 1,107 square feet per Jackson County. The minimal livable floor area will be noted on the final plat. The applicant is required to provide a minimum of 10% open space. The applicant is proposing 9.22 acres, which will consist of the park amenities and walking trail. And as you can see here, these are some of the conceptuals that we could possibly see in the subdivision. The applicant has provided a conceptual landscape plan, which will be reviewed in a greater detail with the site plan design review. The final request is the approval of the preliminary plat, which includes the 92 lots and 4 tracts of land. Staff has reviewed the rezoning request under the 9 review criteria included under the staff reports and finds the request in accordance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed zoning and development of the site is appropriate since the development is on an arterial and is relatively close to the intersection at Moreland School Road. Approval of the application could encourage development of a vacant property along the parkway and create a precedence for the site design, with the focus being pedestrians. Denial of the application would result in the property maintaining a county zoning district, which is not permitted by right in the city, and could discourage unique and innovative developments. Staff feels that the rezoning to SF7 family residential district would allow greater density in the housing stock and would allow for a unique type of development. Based on the review criteria, staff recommends approval of the rezoning of this site. Staff reviewed the general development plan under the 6 criteria included in the staff report and feels that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan as the property is designated for single-family residential. The proposed general development is conditioned on the approval of the concurrent application for the rezoning, and the general development plan complies with all of the applicable use, development, and design standards. Staff finds the general development plan will foster a convenient and walkable neighborhood. Based on the review criteria, staff recommends approval of the general development plan with the one condition. Staff also recommends approval of the preliminary plat with 6 conditions, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff from the council? Councilmember Edmondson.
Just a concern, and maybe you can ease my mind on it. The Blue Branch Creek that is part of this property, I know that the people in Keystone have had issues with that flooding, with heavy storms and things along that line. Is there any issue that we're gonna see with this development adding more water to there, or maybe causing some backflow, or like under heavy rains it might prevent that from either helping the water coming through there, or is it gonna hold that back? I mean, is there any talk about that?
I would go ahead and leave that for the applicant who's here to explain their
Okay.
drainage study and how it will affect the Blue Creek right there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Erickson.
Could you enlighten me on the 9 point however many acres it was? That includes what Councilmember Edmondson was speaking of and the detention ponds, that's correct?
Yes.
And is that Blue Branch Creek a walkable, serviceable area for recreation or anything other than being a creek with a bunch of rocks in it? I have not been in the creek.
There will be the trail that will be to the north of that creek as the,
So do we know the functionality for people of that creek, or is that, what's it like? I've not been in the creek.
It will not be readily accessible. There's quite a bit of grade change. And so the applicant for their open space is providing the detention area, the area within the stream buffer of the creek, some green space along the western property line that has a overhead power line for Evergy over it, the playground at the beginning of, or at the front of the development along Adamsbury Parkway, and then a buffer along Adamsbury Parkway. The Unified Development Code does allow for open space for land that is surrounding a creek within a stream buffer that is left in kind of a natural state as a preserve of open space to count towards their open space requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff from the council? I had a quick question. I noticed they're not doing a planned development here. They're just sticking with the SF7 zoning. Is that correct?
yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
All right. With that, then we will go to the audience. I do have some speaker appearance forms, but I think they all seem to be in opposition to. So let's start with in support of the applicant. You guys will have to do a presentation.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do. Good evening, Dan Foster with Schlegel, 14920 West 107th Street, Lenox, representing Calera, who is the developer here. Also in the audience is Melissa with Roust, Fretz, White, Goss, Gentile Roads, and Amy with McCurdy Engineers, our traffic consultant. So as staff said, we are going from ag to SF7 so that our zoning matches the surrounding zoning to our west. and in the general vicinity of the area. As she mentioned, the site is located on Adams Dairy Parkway. We have one access about where that entrance is now, off from Adams Dairy Parkway, if you're familiar with where that is. And then we've got our two connections to Sandstone and Rockwood, I believe it is, to interconnect the subdivisions as required by the city. Go to the next slide, if you would please. So just to clarify, the staff slide shows a greater area for our site. We are only purchasing the north part, north of the creek, north of the sanitary sewer. The area south will remain with the current ownership and will remain as ag, and we have no idea, what the intent is there. But just wanted to make it clear, the area highlighted in yellow on the plan there in front of you is the only area that our client is purchasing. If you go to the next slide, please. So the project consists of 92 standard single-family lots. As staff stated, all of them meet the code for the SF7. We're not asking for any modifications, deviations, or anything like that. Sidewalks will be provided as required by the code. The project does include 15% open space, which exceeds the minimum 10% in the code. I did want to clarify that based on the questions. So we have the open space right at the entrance to the north of our entrance, which is our amenity area. And then there will be a trail through the southern portion of that, of which we also have a detention basin down there. But everything south of that white line, which is the future trail, will be preserved, and a lot of that is wooded. There's one small area where, as you come around off from Adams Dairy Parkway, and it kind of bends, where it's an open field that people could go into that area and, kick a ball around or play catch or do things like that. As staff stated, the area right adjacent to the creek is not really accessible, but the woods are to some degree along the edge of the trail there, so there is an opportunity there. The project also includes a landscape buffer along Adams Dairy Parkway that ranges in size from 30 feet to 80 feet, with the narrowest point being at the northern end, at the end of that cul-de-sac bulb. Generally, it's over 40 feet in width along that entire frontage. We're going to try to save whatever trees along that frontage that are good, and then we'll supplement back with evergreens and some deciduous trees as well. The project will be completed in a single phase as far as the street and utility infrastructure goes. And then if approved, the construction might start late this year or the first part of next year. So the only one other item that I want to address is the detention. So we're providing the detention basin that would meet the city standards. So basically, we have to detain any excess runoff caused by the streets on our site and release it into the storm in a manner that doesn't create any issues within the floodplain or along the creek there. So we are meeting the city standards. We've submitted a storm drainage report. Staff's reviewed it, accepted it, said it's good, and so we are meeting the code there. So now I want to turn it over to Melissa for just a quick summary wrap-up of a couple of items.
I do. Good evening. My name is Melissa Van Crum with Rouse Fretz White Goss Law Firm, 4510 Bellevue Avenue, Suite 300, Kansas City, Missouri. To add to what Dan has already said, and staff as well, there was a traffic study. If you could go ahead and forward it, the slide. There's a traffic study that has been conducted and has been reviewed by professional staff at the city. It's a holistic review of safety and operations, including the proposed access point. It evaluated existing, proposed, and future traffic volumes, looked at the one access point on Adams Dairy Parkway, and found that the proposal is consistent with multiple access points in the immediate vicinity that have similar types of turns. At this time, the traffic volumes do not warrant a traffic signal or the right or left-hand turn lanes based on the results of this study. If you could go ahead and forward it. These next few slides, and you can just go ahead through these next few, will just show you the vicinity, what you're looking at on the road in the vicinity. These last couple ones are from the neighborhood that connects to the west, where those roads will be connected through, and then looking back north. The criteria for approval, staff has gone through that a little bit, but I want to emphasize through the criteria of approval, the proposal is consistent with the future land use policy map of the neighborhood and consistent with area plan designation. Both support detached housing on small, medium-sized lots with connectivity to neighboring services and precisely what's been proposed. It also furthers the intent of the proposed zoning district consistent with the land uses on three sides, all of the land that's on the same side of Adams Dairy Parkway, which involves similar kinds of residential development with different types of housing options and that type of thing. If you could go ahead and move forward. It's also, as I mentioned, consistent with the adjacent zoning, consistent with the UDC and city policies. The rezoning is necessary, as staff mentioned, because it is currently in the county zoning, and this is the most logical option since it is consistent with the adjacent areas. City services and facilities are able to serve it, and the school district has confirmed capacity. It's consistent with the various plans and will not negatively impact property values in the vicinity. If you could move forward to the next slide. The criteria for approval for the development plan, it is consistent with all requirements of the UDC. There are no deviations or modifications that are requested, and it meets or exceeds the requirements of the district. The arrangement of streets and blocks has been designed to be convenient and walkable to allow that connectivity and will not deter any kind of future development or infrastructure in the area as well. We agree with all of the conditions of approval that have been proposed by staff. We greatly appreciate staff's time to work with the applicant on this application, and we are happy to answer any questions that you may have this evening. Thank you for your time.
Any questions from the council for the applicant? Councilmember Edmondson.
I'm concerned, another concern I have. One was the creek, but the other one is the Sandstones Drive and Rockwood Street. The two entrances are coming in from Keystone. Both of those are buried way back in that subdivision, and I can see from past experiences, I lived for a number of years back in the back of the Keystone addition, and I can see a lot of people from Keystone using this access to Adams Dairy Parkway because it's a lot closer than going to 7 Highway. So hopefully you consider that in your count with traffic count. It's because I see a lot of people that are leaving, that back part of the Keystone, driving right over to ADP to go. To get their main access to get out onto whether they're going to I-70 or going over towards Lee Summit from, say, Moreland School Road or something like that. So I don't know whether that was taken into your traffic study or not.
The traffic study is a holistic study, so it would look at all of the potential,
you look at all that.
the existing and potential for traffic. You can also see that those roads have not been made through. They require a little bit of a jog through to try to keep traffic speeds down and to keep it from being some sort of a kind of a thoroughfare type use of the roads, much more local traffic.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council for the applicant? All right, thank you for your presentation. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in support of? All right, I have a couple of speaker appearance forms for opposition to. First one I have is from Gary Bradley. Gary, can you come up, be sworn in, give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to tell us what you're thinking. This guy, too.
My name's Gary Bradley.
Mr. Bradley, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth? So, help you God.
It is, and nice to see you again. How are you? First of all, I want to thank all of you for all of your public service. It's not easy listening to both sides of things, and I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to address you.
Can you give him your address for the record?
915 Southeast Cypress. I live across the street from this in the Pines, and I have 3 points to make. I came here in '04, built a house with the promise of the Parkway, the excellence of it all. I'm disappointed to be here today. I think it's a bit of a whitewash job, and the council should veto this. Of course, the zoning things is merely advisory. You get to the real meat of this when it comes to the council. First of all, it creates a traffic problem. It's a left-hand turn coming down a hill. The council should be nothing if not consistent. Come right down Adams Dairy Parkway. The newest intersection, Napoleon Drive, for the gas Quick Trip, has an intersection, and it has a traffic control. The developer at that point, as this developer should be made had to make Adams Dairy five lanes with a turn lane. They also had to put a traffic signal in. And as you look all the way up and down Sunday School, Sunnyside Road, 5 lanes. Everything is 5 lanes, and they are relying on an aged level D traffic study. The traffic is not the same as it was when they had their study, and we have a AAA area, AAA school, the nicest roadway in the city. And why are we going to settle for a traffic problem that ultimately the taxpayer and the city are going to have to pay for? It is disqualifying for a court review, and yes, I am a lawyer too, but I'm retired. The council can't treat this intersection different than all the other intersections up and down Adams Dairy. We can't look the other way on a level 3. And what about the danger to the general public, to students? 16-year-olds driving to class every day, and they're going to be cutting through from, we're not just having 90, 92 people there, we're having everybody wanting to cut from Highway 7 across here. Then you've got a left turn on a curve and a part blinding hill. Shouldn't happen. Secondly, the density. This is consistent. No, it's not consistent with anything. These lots are 1/6 of an acre and 1/7 of an acre. Across the street in the Pines, we all have 1/3 to 1/2 an acre. There is no density like this anywhere up and down the parking lot, up and down the parkway. Why do we want to settle? We don't. Third, excellence, why we came here. And if you believe that we need this subdivision for high density, and put it somewhere else. Don't put it on the parkway. Don't create a traffic problem. Deal with the traffic the same as all of the traffic up and down the parkway. Make it be similar sized.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. That's your time.
Thank you.
You got your 3rd point in, I think. But
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Next, I have from Andy Edgar. Looks like the Pines HOA. Mr. Edgar, if you could come be sworn in, give us your name and address for the record.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, so help you God.
I do.
As indicated, my name's Andy Edgar. I live at 2114 Southeast Hemlock Road, and I'm the president of the Pines HOA, and I'm speaking on behalf of our 50 property owners. A lot has been already addressed here, but I've got 3 minutes, so we're going ahead. Our concern is increasing traffic on Adams Dairy Parkway. This poses danger to vehicles attempting to navigate ADP. Also, speeding motorcycles and clustered traffic is a hazard to pedestrians and vehicles. With 3 schools in this area, there are children who walk and bike daily. And I don't think anyone wants their kids to play Frogger on ADP. In our HOA, the family demographics are shifting to more families with much younger children. This is a concern. We are thankful for the squad car presence when it's there, especially when schools are letting out, but we understand that can't be done 24/7. We also recognize adding stop signs or traffic signals are not warranted, nor are they wanted. Ideally, we desire turn lanes. However, in the short term, other ways to increase driver awareness, slow down traffic, and facilitate additional safe pedestrian crossings along ADP must be prioritized. If you look at pedestrian crossings, you can go down to Moreland School or you can go to the high school. Those are the only two recognized crossings there. And I've got a lot of kids, not only from our subdivision, but also from Parkway East, that have to get across that road when they're coming home from William Bryant. So that's a serious concern from our parents. The developer purchased only the northmost 35 acres of this 52-acre tract of land. You are only looking at the impact of developing this specific area. Eventually, those other 17 acres are going to be developed. Then we're going to be kicking the can down the road and addressing the same issue once that happens. So there will be another entrance onto ADP once that 17 acres is developed. Other previously approved subdivisions are in full construction further south on ADP. Are we thinking ahead in regards to this? Traffic studies indicate traffic is expected to be better than the first rejected proposal last year. Given the row house density was eliminated, this is no surprise. The developer's drawings show street connections to ADP, Rockwood Street, and Sandstone Drive. They fail to illustrate the congested maze Keystone Estates drivers contend with daily to reach ADP and Highway 7. Submitting drawings, which I have done, show routes and drive times encountered. When Boulder Springs is open, Keystone residents will certainly use this new and shorter route. Has this been considered when assessing traffic in this area? To suggest the proposed development will not negatively impact the already degraded traffic conditions along ADP indicates the study author has never driven on ADP during peak traffic times. To brush this aside is unacceptable and irresponsible.
Thank you, Mr. Edgar. That's your time.
I appreciate your time, and please do not approve this subdivision without addressing our safety concerns. Thank you.
Next, I have a speaker appearance form from Christina Weathers. Christina, if you can come up, be sworn in, give us your name and address for the record.
Yes. My name is Christina Weathers, and I live at 1000 Southeast Scarlet Court in the Parkway Estates East. I'm the HOA president, and I am just here to actually, I had a few questions that I represent 212 homes in the Parkway Estates East, just south of the Pines, and we just had some of the similar questions regarding the traffic on Adams Dairy Parkway, the turning lanes, the getting across the parkway to the other side of Adams Dairy. Like was previously noted, that the only true place is at Moreland School Road and the high school, and at our entrance to our neighborhood going over to Parkway Estates West is always kind of crazy. So to have more traffic is just a concern of the residents in my neighborhood. And so we would also like to request turning lanes or something along Adams Dairy Parkway to alleviate some of the congestion that's going to occur from the added traffic from this neighborhood, and then as noted, the neighborhoods that are further down on Adams Dairy Parkway that is just going to complicate this. And at Adams Dairy Parkway and Moreland School Road, where the high school kids come back off of the back road and kind of shoot down Adams Dairy Parkway during the school year, this is just going to have more traffic, and that is the concern of our neighborhood. And I had some other questions, but I don't think that like one of my residents had a question about water pressure. I don't know what that means, but she said, how will it affect our water pressure? So as the president, I'm saying, does this affect water pressure? And then I noted that they said that there was capacity at the schools for these new residents, and I had, a lot of my residents were concerned about the capacity at schools, noting that it was their understanding that, like, the high school was near capacity, if not at capacity, as well as some of these, the elementary schools around our area. And so they had a concern about how this will affect capacity issues at the school. Those are my points on behalf of my residents.
Thank you for your time.
Mhm.
We also had a late speaker appearance form from Cindy McCoychick. Cindy here. Cindy, if you can come up, be sworn in, give us your name and address for the record.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Hi, I'm Cindy McCoychick. I also live in the Pines. I'm at 909 Southeast Cypress Lane. And I've lived there since we moved from Virginia. And we were promised at that time, that's about the time Adams Dairy just opened up. And at that time, we were promised, and that's why we bought the house in that location, to have high-end is what was promised in the town of Blue Springs, or city of Blue Springs. A couple things that have been brought up, and I'm gonna somewhat reference what everybody else, I have major concern about traffic, and before I came, or, you know, the last couple weeks, I've tried to observe, and this is with school not there, at several, I guess it's north, I get my norths and stuff mixed up, but north of, there's always a turn lane. And I believe that in particular with the school, this is gonna be a major problem without some type of turn lane. I think, I will say that sometimes when I'm turning into my neighborhood, I try to do so not when the school is going out. I do see the police officers at the school as I travel up and down Adams Dairy, but I also see the police officers pulling someone over 2 to 3 times every day. It's a lot of traffic on Adams Dairy, and since we've built even more further south, I feel like that's going to be extreme. When this was presented a year ago, one of the things that the company stated was they wanted to do affordable housing. And I've seen the price of the housing now. The average person in the Blue Springs city is generally probably more service orientated than industry. So that's talking 20, 25, and even the teachers are only making like $22 an hour in reality. This is beyond their price range. So I'm not sure where that's coming from, in particular with such small lots. So I don't see us attracting Blue Springs residents to this location. But my major issue is really the traffic. I asked the council at a minimum whether you decide whether to ask more questions of the city, ask questions of the police department, and maybe table your decision for 1 to 2 months when school gets back, so that you can do what I would feel a more accurate traffic assessment, not one just by the developer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm just glad I got your last name right.
You did, thank you.
All right, that's all the speaker appearance forms I have. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak in opposition to? Okay, any other comments from the council before we close the public hearing? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Next item is introduction and reading of Bill 5337, approving Boulder Springs rezoning. Do I have a introduction?
I'll introduce it.
First reading of Bill 5337, an ordinance approving rezoning property AG Agriculture County to SF7 Single Family Residential District for Boulder Springs located south of Southeast Sunnyside School Road and west of Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway, Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Your Honor, I move we approve on the first reading and move to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I had a quick question of staff. It was referenced the project that about a year ago was turned down. I know this project is significantly, well, there's less homes. How many less homes is it?
There's about 40 less homes than
Okay.
the last proposal. The last proposal included alley-loaded homes, about 50% alley-loaded homes, and these are all proposed to be front-loaded.
And as we talked about, they're just meeting SF7 zoning. There's no modifications. They're not doing a PD, anything like that.
That's correct.
That's okay.
They're just gonna comply with city code, across the board.
Your Honor,
Yeah, Councilmember Erickson.
I have a question, a procedural question, I guess. The rezoning is separate from the general development plan, correct?
That's correct. Right now, we're just on the rezoning.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council member? Preble?
So on the rezoning, it's just that portion of the, so we're replotting this piece of land, right?
Yeah, the rezoning is only for the portion identified in green. They recently recorded a conveyance plat or a subdivision administrative plat to create 2 tracts of land. One for this proposed approximately 30 acres, and a second tract for the southern portion. The rezoning is only affecting this tract.
And a follow-up question on that, the plan last year, it was for the entire section, not just this portion, correct?
That's correct.
So density-wise, we're looking at the same amount of, would it be comparable with that additional 15 acres?
The bottom 15 acres is going to be quite difficult to develop because there will be only one access point in there. It'll be a very long cul-de-sac actually, and there can be no more than 30 homes on a dead-end cul-de-sac per the fire code. And so even if somebody was able to find a way to develop 30 lots on that southern portion, the last proposal only had like 10. It might be comparable at that point, but I think that would be difficult to do given the limited amount of land that's left based upon the topography.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any discussion on rezoning? Okay, first reading. I got a motion, a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5337, an ordinance approving rezoning property AG Agriculture County to SF7 Single Family Residential District for Boulder Springs located south of Southeast Sunnyside School Road and west of Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway, Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the rezoning? All right, roll call.
Councilmember Tholen.
Aye.
Brummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5439.
Next is item 7, introduction and reading of Bill 5338, approving the Boulder Springs General Development Plan. Do I have an introduction?
I'll introduce it.
First reading of Bill 5338, an ordinance approving a general development plan for Boulder Springs located south of Southeast Sunnyside School Road and west of Southeast Adams Dairy Parkway, Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Your Honor, I move we approve on the first reading and proceed to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Your Honor, if I may.
Councilmember Edmondson.
Some of the concerns I expressed on this is going to happen no matter what goes on this property. I mean, even if you went to a state housing, you're still going to have traffic flowing through out to Adams Dairy Parkway. The number of houses, you're actually having more cars coming through. I understand that. To me, that's probably going to put more pressure on us trying to do a light at Moreland School Road somewhere down the lane than the impact it has on traffic flow because of people heading that direction and hitting that four-way stop there. So to me, the impact to the city is going to be more there, and I just want to make sure the staff's aware of that. I will support this.
Councilmember Erickson.
I just have too many questions. The quality, the green space, the future of, and I know that's beyond the scope of this discussion, the future of the land below. So I won't be supporting it, just so you know.
Any other discussion on first reading of general development plan? Okay. All be voice vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, no.
No.
Let's roll call that.
Councilmember Brummel.
No.
Erickson.
No.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
No.
Tholen.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm sorry, first read. That was
First
first reading.
motion carries. On to second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5338, an ordinance approving a general development plan for Boulder Springs located south of Southeast Sunnyside School Road and west of Southeast Adams-Dairy Parkway, Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Erickson,
No.
Edmondson,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
Kaler,
No.
Tholen,
Aye.
Rummel,
No.
Mayor Levesey.
Aye.
Motion carried and given ordinance number 5440.
Next item is a public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. I believe the city clerk has items to read into the exhibit.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. City Council information form dated July 24th, 2025 with the following attachments. Affidavit of publication, the Examiner on June 21st, 2025, 2025-2026 CDBG Annual Action Plan and Public Hearing Notice, Budget Overview, Summary of Public Comments, CDBG Advisory Committee for May 21st, 2025 with agenda and approved minutes, CDBG Advisory Committee for June 5th, 2025 agenda, annual action plan draft, and August 4th, 2025 public hearing notice on the City of Blue Springs website, and all required CDBG HUD certifications and resolution with 2025-2026 CDBG annual action plan attached as Exhibit A. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Staff, you can continue when you're ready.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this case is the truth, so help you God?
I do. Chantel Fry, 903 West Main Street, on behalf of the city, and I have been sworn in. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Before you this evening is the final draft of the annual action plan for the 2025-2026 Community Development Block Grant Program. The annual action plan outlines the programs and activities which the city is proposing to fund during the program year, which will begin on August 1st and will run through September 30th, 2026. The city has been allocated $265,704 from HUD, as well as having $36,415.55 reprogrammed funds from the prior 2025 program, giving a total amount to the program of $302,119.55. The final proposed program is based on the public input from the CDBG Advisory Committee, representatives of the community organizations, citizens, and city staff. All the proposed projects that will be funded have been funded in some capacity in the past, with the exception of 2 projects. The following is the proposed funding. $50,000 for the minor home repair program, which will provide 10 residents, approximately 10 residents of the 5,000 grant to qualifying households for home repairs in the city of Blue Springs. $4,000 for the Fieldhouse scholarships for memberships to the residents of Blue Springs. $13,250 for Hope House to provide counseling services to victims of domestic violence. $24,500 for Community Services League to provide housing and utility assistance to low-income households to prevent eviction and homelessness. And $2,105.60 for Company of Champions to provide assistance with housing, utilities, food, and non-covered medications which are not covered by other programs or resources. $204,263.95 for downtown Central Park improvement to enhance the public access to the pond through new pedestrian pathways, creating an improved user experience, and establishing the park as a central hub for community gatherings. And $4,000 for the program administration and planning, which will cover the public notices, recording fees, marketing the CDBG program, and other items related to administration of the all CDBG projects. The CDBG Advisory Committee held public hearings on May 21st, 2025 and June 5th of 2025 for input on proposed projects. The committee recommended approval on the projects at their June 5th meeting. A draft of the plan was published for a 30-day public comment beginning on the period of June 21st to July 21st. All public comments have been received to date, have been included in the plan, and the final annual action plan will be required to be submitted to HUD on or before August 15th for their review and approval. And I would be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff from the council?
I got a statement.
Go ahead, Councilman Kaler.
I just want to commend you all for doing the job you did trying to put all this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else for staff from the council? All right, with that, then we will go to the audience. Does anyone in the audience like to speak in support of, in opposition to? Anything else from the council on the public hearing before we move on? Councilman Robinson?
Just like to say that the money that's going to the downtown Central Park, a little over $200,000 for retrofitting that. I really appreciate that because I think that provides an actual workable park for the residents in the downtown district. And by that I mean the plan is to have a walking trail, some playground equipment. It's going to be a big improvement to that for them, that they can bring their kids up, use of that space. It also will actually hopefully bring some people to see the old depot. I know there was a lot of people that donated money to have that relocated to Central Park, and I think it kind of gets lost because there's not much else in that area, and it does sit down in their ways. So I look forward to seeing this being developed and improve that park and the benefit it will provide to those residents in that area.
Thank you. It will be great to have a gathering place in the downtown district on it. I do want to add, I got a phone call from Diane Mack with Company of Champions. She just wanted to reemphasize, I think it's been a couple of years that she's participated in this process. And so her only comments were just to encourage us to consider other charities in Blue Springs. I think their organization is getting some funds this year for the first time, but she wanted to emphasize there are a lot of 501c3s in town, and so to basically share the wealth. That's my words, not hers, but just want to make sure that was out there since I had a phone call with her today. Any other comments on the record for the public hearing? All right, we will close the public hearing. Next item is item 9, adopt a resolution for Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. I just need a motion on the resolution.
Got a motion?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Next item is item 10, a public hearing on sewer and water rates. City clerk will read exhibit into the record.
Mayor, the city has one exhibit to enter into the record. City Council information form dated July 24th, 2025, with the following attachments: PowerPoint presentation, report on revenue requirements, cost of service and rates for water and sewer, notice of public hearing, bill amending code to set sewer rates, and bill amending code to set water rates. This is all we have to enter for the record.
Staff, you'll be sworn in and give your report.
Raise your right hand.
Yeah, yeah.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this stage to be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Continue whenever you're ready.
I'll put it here, and I just wanted to put it in presentation. Okay. All right, thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Anna White. I'm with Black and Beach Corporation. I have been doing water and sewer rate studies almost 30 years now. And I think this is our 5th rate study that we've done for the city of Blue Springs over the last 15 years, I believe. So what I'm going to run through tonight is just kind of the process that we use as we evaluate your current water and sewer rates, and then what the revenue increases need to be on both of those rate schedules going forward in order to fund both the capital costs and the operating costs for each of the utilities. So we'll kind of run through what that process looks like, what our findings were, and what we're proposing. Oops, sorry. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about rate study best practices, and then we'll take a look at the results of the study that we performed. So, as I mentioned, I've been doing this type of work for almost 30 years, and every time that we start doing one of these projects, we're evaluating the same thing for all the different utilities that we work with. And what we've found is we work with utilities who are proactive in terms of setting their rates and making sure that they're recovering the revenue that they need in order to fund all their costs
as well as taking into account the impact that rate increases can have on their customers. First is just defining what those performance standards are. It can be either in terms of days cash on hand, making sure that you're maintaining a balance in a capital reserve or your operating reserve, making sure that you're meeting your debt service coverage. Just what are the minimum increases needed in order to meet those requirements. Also looking at doing a multi-year financial plan, a 5 to 10 year financial plan on a regular basis, because your costs change pretty quickly, especially with regards to capital costs. Last minute capital projects are added, some are taken out, they get pushed back, they get brought forward. So it's really important to look at that on an annual basis just to make sure that you know what your expenses are going forward. Then every 3 to 5 years, what we see a lot of utilities are doing is doing a cost of service rate study. And so this is one step past, once we have the financial plan and we kind of know what that rate increase needs to be in terms of a percentage, we then need to evaluate, so how do we design your rates so that we recover that additional amount of revenue? And so that's what the cost of service task is where we're going and looking at all of the different customers that you provide service to, evaluating how much revenue you need to get from each of those customer classes, and then making sure that your rate structure is recovering that revenue appropriately. And then the last step is to make sure that the utilities are self-sufficient when we look at those revenue increases. So we want to make sure we're looking at water separately and we're looking at sewer separately and making sure that they're self-sufficient. Okay. So we followed all of those steps that I just walked through. We did those for Blue Springs water and sewer rate study for each utility. So the focus of doing a cost of service rate study, again, is just to make sure that we're matching the costs that it takes to provide service to your customers with those individual customer classes, and then making sure that we're designing the rates so that we recover that revenue. So there's 3 basic steps that we follow. So I'm gonna repeat myself a little bit, but each time going into a little bit more detail. So revenue requirements. So again, this is the financial plan. So this is where we're looking at the amount of revenue each utility is bringing in, and we're looking at it by customer class, residential, commercial, industrial. We're looking at it for inside and outside city customers. We're looking at it for a wholesale customer, for Grain Valley. So we're evaluating all of the different customer classes, how much revenue is being recovered from each of those customer classes. And then again, we're also looking at your expenses. So your existing debt service, your operating expenses, your capital expenses. Once we've put that together again, and we've looked to see how much more revenue do you need to generate in order to meet those future costs, the next step then is taking that, doing the cost of service, doing a very detailed allocation of those costs to your customer classes to make sure that each customer class is being allocated the costs associated with the service that it's provided. So for instance, there's a difference between the service that's provided to your retail customers versus your wholesale customers. So as an example, Grain Valley is a wholesale customer. They receive different service than your other sewer customers, your other residential sewer customers or commercial customers. So we have to take that into account to make sure that we're recovering only the amount of revenue that we need to from each of those customer classes. And then once we've done that analysis, then we go to the rate design. And that's where we take a look at your existing rate structure. We evaluate whether we think maybe some changes need to be made to the rate structure. Right now you have a uniform volume charge. We talk a little bit with the city team about, do you want to consider maybe an inclining block or a declining block? And we talk through what's the impact of that, what's the pros and cons, and decide whether we feel that the existing rate structure is sufficient to recover the revenue from each of your customers, or if we want to look at something else. So those are the 3 steps. So step 1, this is the financial plan. So what I'm showing up there on the slide, those are the steps that we go through. Some of the things that we want to make sure that we keep in mind as we walk through this is there anything that's going to impact your revenue generation? So do you have a large industrial customer that's going to leave the area, or a large commercial customer that's going to leave, or do you have some new ones that are going to join? We want to make sure that we recognize that in the financial plan to make sure that we're projecting the revenue that you are going to recover from your existing clients or customers, we're reflecting that correctly. The same thing is that we need to know also what factors might impact your revenue requirements. Those are your expenses. So is there anything that's going to impact your operating expenses significantly that we need to be aware of? Typically, there's really not in terms of operating expenses. Where we really see impact is with the capital program. The capital program, like I mentioned, can change quite a bit from year to year, and we even see it. We do the rate study every three to 4 years. The CIP does change quite a bit over that time period. So we need to make sure that we have a really good foundation for what the projects are going to be, the timing and the costs, and how those are going to be funded. Are any of them going to be debt financed, or are they going to be cash financed? Then the third thing is making sure that we understand what reserves the utilities need to maintain, and make sure that when we put together this financial plan, we're taking that into account. So we're setting the rates not just to recover your expenses, but also your reserve requirements as well. And then finally, any financial performance targets that need to be met. So days cash on hand and debt service coverage. So we put all of that together, and at the end of that analysis is telling us what the percentage rate increase needs to be. Okay. So this graphic here, so this is for the water utility. So this is from fiscal 25 through fiscal 30, the 6-year period. What I'm showing there on the bars, that's the revenue requirements. So you can see we have O&M, operations and maintenance. We have other transfers, which are transfers to different funds and reserves. We have cash financing of capital, that's the green bar, the green portion of the bar. Capital outlay, this is cash funded, small capital projects that kind of happen on a routine basis. It's a very small amount. That's just the really light green at the top of the bars. So you can see that in 2026, there is a significant jump from 25 to 26, just in terms of the revenue requirements. And then it kind of goes down from there and kind of smooths out by 2030. So the solid line, or the dotted line, is the revenue under existing rates. So you can see, even in 2025, the revenue's lower than what the revenue requirements are, but that's okay if there's funds on hand that'll help fund those expenses. That's okay. But you can see kind of as we go through the 6-year period, obviously your revenue under existing rates stays pretty flat. But your costs, though, continue, to increase in the first couple of years and then come down a little bit. So the solid yellow line is if we enact the proposed revenue increases that we're just showing on the slide there, you can see how the revenue under proposed rates, instead of staying flat like your existing rates, it'll come up by 2030 and match the revenue requirements in 2030. So this plan here reflects 4% annual increases for fiscal 27, 28, and 29, and then 4.25% for fiscal 30 and 31. I'm going to show that just a little different way here. So here we're just looking at the fund balance. So your requirement, or your guideline, I guess, is to maintain 90 days of cash on hand. So what that is being represented here with the green bar, this is what the minimum requirement is, 90 days of cash on hand. The blue line is if we do not implement any revenue increases, if over the 6-year study period, if we just stay with the existing rates, this is what happens to the days cash on hand. It's up above 800 days cash on hand right now, but as you start spending that down for the CIP, you can see we hit the 90 days, and then we keep going down to where we have a negative fund balance. So that indicates that we need to either significantly cut back on our costs or we need a revenue increase. So with those 4% increases and the 4.25 for the last 2 years, that's, you can see on the orange line here, we're still bringing the fund balance down, but we're not bringing it below 90 days. So with that series of revenue increases, it allows us to fully fund all of the operating expenses, all of the capital costs, and remain at a minimum of 90 days cash on hand. And one of the things that I want to point out here is kind of why we see this big drop in days cash, because we are going from, I think it's 825 days down to 90 days. That is a significant drop, but it's based on the CIP. So there's several really big projects in the capital program. So I wanted to just kind of mention a few of those. We have the public utilities building. The water share of that is $7.5 million. That's going to occur in fiscal 26 and 27, and that's cash funded. We have $6.5 million for water main maintenance. That's over the 6-year period. That's cash financed. We have $2.5 million for the South Outer Road. That's in 2026. So just those 3 projects right there is $16.5 million. We also have a couple smaller ones. Water tank maintenance is about $1.5 million, and then a dump truck is almost $1 million. So that's $18.3 million in cash finance projects. So that's why you can see, without any revenue increases, the fund balance, why it goes down, declines so quickly, is because we have almost $20 million, $18 million of cash financing that we're going to do over the study period for those projects. So again, the proposed revenue adjustments, the 4% followed by the 2 years of 4.25%, will allow cash financing of all of those projects and remaining above the 90-day minimum requirement. Okay, we're going to look at the same information now for the sewer utility. So similar to what we just saw for water, so this graphic here, again, the bars show the revenue requirements, O&M, transfers, capital outlay, cash financing of capital, and again, that's kind of the dark green here on the bars, and especially like in fiscal 26 and 27, that's really the largest cost in those years, is the capital projects. We have some debt financing. Debt service on the sewer side, we don't have that on the water side. So you can see that revenue under existing rates, the dotted line, it's underneath the total, lower than the total expenses, revenue requirements for each year, and it does start coming down in fiscal 2029 down to fiscal 30. So what we're proposing for water is annual increases of 2%. And that's reflected here with the solid yellow line. So just a little bit above your existing rates. Again, we'll take a look at what we're really seeing in terms of days cash on hand. Again, similar to water, we do see a significant decrease in days cash on hand. And I wanted to note that the sewer utility is starting off with a much higher number of days cash on hand. Water was at about 840 days. Sewer is actually starting off with about 1,200 days cash on hand. So a really healthy fund balance, but that's going to get spent, again, similar to water, on the capital projects, and we'll talk through those in just a moment. So you can see the dark blue line is without any revenue increases. By 2030, we've basically drawn the fund down to 90 days. With those small 2% annual increases over the study period, we're still pulling it down, but we're not pulling it down to the very minimum, the 90 days. We're still keeping it above that at about, I think, 350 days. And so on the sewer side, what we're seeing that really results in that significant decrease in the fund balance is we have the sludge removal project. That's $9 million. That's cash financed. That's spread out over the study period. We have the other half of the public utilities building, so 7.5 for that. Citywide maintenance is 6.5 or $6.8 million. So right there, that's over $23 million of cash financing. And then what's sitting out here, it's not on the graph, but we know it's out here in fiscal 31, is we have the Sniobar treatment plant expansion. That's a $60 million project. It is anticipated to be debt financed, but we still need to keep in mind, as we just look at the 6-year study period, that we know 1 year after this, the utility is going to be responsible for the debt service payment and meeting the debt service coverage on that $60 million loan. So that's why we're proposing just the minimal increases of 2%, just to make sure as we start moving towards that significant project out there in 2031, that we're leaving the utility in a state where it can afford that project. Okay. So the next step then is, once we've identified what those revenue increases need to be for each utility, we then take a look at the cost of service analysis. And again, this is where we're looking at each class individually, the costs that should be allocated to each individual class, making sure that we're recovering the appropriate amount of revenue from each customer class. We'll kind of see what that looks like as we go through here. So then we get to rate design. So what I have on here, there's 2 manuals that support the rate making process. The American Waterworks Association, it's the M1 manual, and then the Water Environment Federation is on the wastewater side, that also discusses in that manual rate setting for wastewater. So of course we follow the process laid out in both of those manuals. In the American Waterworks Association's manual, it sets up some rate setting principles that need to be taken into consideration when we do this type of a study. So equitability, so making sure that we're really evaluating each customer class separately, and that they're only being allocated the costs that actually reflect the services that they receive. So making sure that when we put together the rate schedule and the rate increases, that it's equitable for all of your customers. Revenue stability. We want to make sure that, if we said, well, we're going to try to recover all of the revenue from your volume charge and just a little bit from the service charge, your rates would go up so much, your customers would cut back on their water usage, and you wouldn't be getting the revenue that you need. So we want to make sure that the rate structure that's in place provides revenue stability that you need in order to fund your operating and your capital costs. Provides appropriate price signals. In the last several years, there's been a lot more interest in water conservation and putting in rate schedules that help support that cause. And so we want to make sure, if there is an interest in order to do something with the rates in order to kind of drive what kind of action you want from your customers, whether you want them to cut back on water a little bit, or you have more than enough water to sell, you want to sell it, we can do a rate structure that'll help promote water usage. So we just want to take that into consideration. If there's anything specific that the city is wanting to get out of the rate structure. Recognizing customer usage patterns and demands. Again, this is part of that cost of service step, making sure that we're recognizing that there's a difference between your retail customers and your wholesale customers, such as Grain Valley. Grain Valley receives much different service from the city than residential, commercial, industrial wastewater customers do. So again, we have to make sure that we're recognizing that difference. Easy to understand. We don't want a rate structure that customer service is getting bombarded with customer calls because they don't understand what they're paying and why, because it doesn't make any sense. Customer acceptance, we want them to understand the rate structure and understand how it works for them. Obviously, we need to make sure it's consistent with your city policies and it's legally acceptable. So we do run through all of those when we look at the rate design, just to make sure that we're comfortable with what we're putting forward and it meets all of those requirements. So probably the one that stands out the most when we were working on the water and sewer rates was revenue stability. So when we look at revenue stability, one of the things that we look at is how much revenue the utility is recovering through the fixed fee and how much through the volume charge. Because your fixed fee, that's the amount that you know you're going to get every month. You know how many customers you have, you know what they're going to pay, you can count on that amount of revenue. The revenue that you receive from your volume charge, it depends on water usage. If we have a very cool, rainy summer, your revenue is going to go down. If you have a very hot summer like we have this summer, your revenue is probably doing really well. So we want to make sure, though, that we're recovering enough revenue through your fixed fee to help to make sure that you're going to be able to fund your operating needs and your capital needs. So the guideline for what that percentage of revenue should be in the fixed charge is anywhere from 25 to 30%. So both the water and sewer existing rates right now recover right at 25% of revenue through the fixed fees. Okay, so what we chose to do going forward with the rates, with the proposed rates, is we did have a discussion with the city team about alternative rate structures. We just kind of talked about a few different options. It was decided that there was going to be no change to the rate structure. We agreed with that. We don't have any concerns with the current rate structure. There's nothing very significant. We would immediately look at that and say, I think we should probably address it. This is a very common rate structure. So for water, it's a minimum charge. All customers pay. Right now, they're paying $11.50 per month. Whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, they're all paying that same amount. And then the volume charge, which is based on the amount of water used, it's an inclining block. So you can see there's 3 tiers, and the blocks are based on the amount of water consumed. So tier 1 goes up to 7,500 gallons. And right now that existing rate is 61 cents per 1,000 gallons. Tier 2 is then from 7,500 up to 15,000. The rate goes up by 10 cents. And then tier 3, you can see then it goes up another 5 cents. So it's an inclining block because the rates increase as more consumption, the customers go through the 3 tiers. What we are proposed, the way that we set the rates here, again for water, this reflects the 4% annual increases for each year shown there. So what we did is we looked at the rates that would go in October 1 of 2027, that's fiscal 28. We set those rates first to make sure that we were getting at least 25% of revenue through that minimum charge, because that's what you're currently getting now. So we wanted to make sure that we're still getting that 25%. And then we set the volume charges to make up the rest of the revenue that we need. Then we phased in from the existing rates to the rates that would go in for fiscal 28. We just phased them in on an equal increase each year, so it's a nice smooth increase from your existing rates to the rates for fiscal 26, 27, 28. And you can see in the volume charge, it's really just 3 to 4 cents increase each year on the volume charge. That minimum charge is going up a little bit more than that, but again, it's kind of a smooth increase from each year. These are the inside city rates. The outside city rates are just 2 times the inside city rates. Okay, so then we did that same analysis for the sewer rates, looking at the existing rate structure, having a discussion if we wanted to make any changes or if we had any suggestions for making any changes to the sewer rate schedule, which we did not. On the sewer side, again, this is a very common rate structure. The flat fee, the minimum charge, flat fee, service charge, and then just a uniform volume charge. So typically we don't see inclining or declining blocks on the sewer side. You see that on the water side because it's tied more to the demands that customers place on the system for water. We look at what's called max day and max hour demands. So looking at, especially, the hottest day in July when everybody has their water going and they're doing laundry and they're taking showers and they're watering their yard. That's why we have more the tiered blocks on the water side. It's because we want to just recognize that there are some really high water demands throughout the year on the water side. On the wastewater side, it's really more consistent. So the most common rate structure for sewer is just a uniform volume charge. We followed the same analysis that we did for water. We looked at what the rate should be out in fiscal 28, make sure that we were recovering 25% of revenue from the minimum charge, and then we set the volume charge to make sure that we're recovering 100% of the revenue that's necessary. And again, we kind of phased it in over that 3-year period. So you can see again for the volume charge, it's 1 or 2 cents increase each year. For the minimum charge, it's a little bit more. Okay, and then I also wanted to point out that in this study, we hadn't done this in the past studies, but in this study, we also took a much closer look at the wastewater rate for Green Valley. I think the city had been increasing the rate each year, but we were asked to take a look to make sure if the rates that are being applied to Green Valley are appropriate. So we did the same analysis that we do for all the other customers. We looked at the service that is being provided to Green Valley. I made sure that the only costs that were being allocated to Green Valley reflected the actual service that they are receiving. And so then we designed the rates based on that, off of that cost allocation, designed the rates to make sure again that over that 3-year period up through fiscal 28, the city will recover the appropriate amount of revenue from Green Valley based on the actual service provided to Green Valley. So for Green Valley, it's an annual increase of about 5.5% per year. Okay, and then we just looked at some typical bills just to kind of get an idea of what that annual increase is going to be for at different levels of water consumption. So we have for residential customers, 3,000 gallons, that's kind of a low user. 5,000 gallons is about a middle, and then 7,000 we might be considered kind of a high user. So just again, just looking at what the typical bill, and this is water and wastewater combined, looking at the existing bill and then the rates for fiscal 20, or the typical bill for fiscal 26, 27, and 28. So the annual increases for the 3,000 gallons, it's about a little over 3% per year. Same for the 5,000 gallons, it's about 3% per year, and the same for the 7,000 gallons as well. So just the combination of the 2% revenue increase in water, 4% on sewer, it comes out on a combined basis about 3% per year. And then the last thing that we looked at was looking at what the typical bills are for some other communities in the area. So this is the group of customers that are other utilities that we have benchmarked Blue Springs against, from similar to the last 2 or 3 studies that we've done. We've used this same kind of customer group to do this evaluation. So water is in green, sewer is in gray, and then the combined is the bright blue. So Blue Springs existing rates is the kind of the white box. It has some dots in it. You can see on the water side, it's about in the middle of the group here. On the sewer side, it's third from the bottom. And then on a combined basis, again, it's third from the bottom. So from this group of kind of peer utilities, on the wastewater side, it looks pretty good, and even on a combined basis, it looks pretty good, being in the lower half of those group of utilities. If we look at, on the water side, if we look at the proposed rates, obviously if we're doing a rate increase, that means that we're probably gonna bump up a little bit. So you can see on the water side, the proposed rates, it's here with the lines, it has bumped up past Lee Summit. So third from the top. On the sewer side, it's still kind of towards the bottom here. and then on a combined basis, again, it's on the lower half of the peer comparison. And then we also looked at 5,000 gallons, so looking at maybe what's your more average water customer. And again, on the water side, both your existing and proposed are kind of right in the middle. On the sewer side, a little bit lower, and on a combined basis, kind of in the lower half of the peer group. And then I think we have one more for the 7,000 gallons, which is considered more of a high user. And again, we kind of see the similar results. On the water side, it's about in the middle of the pack. On the sewer side, it's moved up just a little bit. It's kind of more towards the middle, and on a combined basis, the proposed rates on a combined basis are kind of in the middle of the pack. I think that's it. Okay, so what questions do you have?
What questions are there from the council? Councilman Robinson.
I have a question. I'm not sure you can answer it, and maybe it's staff, but I find it uneasy, or I find it wrong that our sewer rate and our water rates, and we're providing service to Green Valley, and they are a lot cheaper than we are.
Yep.
And they ought to be at least the same rate as Blue Springs residents. I mean, it's the same service, so to speak, provided. I'm just not sure I understand why they're less than we are. Is there, like an ordinance or a regulation that says you can't do that when you sell service to somebody else?
Well, I would come at it from the industry guidelines, which is in the two manuals that I mentioned. Wholesale customers are discussed in both of those manuals, mainly the American Water Works Association manual for rate setting. It does discuss, as part of that cost of service allocation, is evaluating not only just your retail customers, but also your wholesale customers. Okay. Because Green Valley does receive a different level of service than your existing customers. So Green Valley, their flow enters the system at one point, it goes straight from there to Sniobar, and it's treated. So Green Valley is only allocated the costs associated with that length of pipe from when it joins into Blue Valley's system and when it goes to the plant. And so we were able to get the information that the percentage of the collection system that Green Valley utilizes was 29%. Make sure I don't get it mixed up. It was 1.9% for the collection system. It's a very small piece of the collection system. And then the treatment plant, it was 38% of the treatment plant. So those are the costs that's allocated to Green Valley. So that 1.9% of the collection system, that remaining percent, that's recovered by all your other customers. They're also paying for that same section, the 1.9, because they're paying for all of the collection system. But Green Valley is only allocated the portion that it actually utilizes. So that's the main reason why when we look at non-retail customers, wholesale customers, or contract customers, that we really have to dig in and figure out what exactly is the service they're being provided, and make sure we're only allocating them the costs associated with that service.
Okay.
The other comment that I would add to that is also why their increases over the next 3 years are double what our wholesale customers are going to be. As we looked at that in more detail this time and what they should be charged, their increases over the next 3 years are 5.3% each year.
Okay. Yep. So we are addressing that discrepancy. Thank you.
The other thing is, I'm not sure how Green Valley's financial policies, how often they do a rate study, if they follow the same guidelines. I don't have that information either. We can certainly find that out, but we're not sure how they go about setting their rates.
Well, my comment on that would be is it's kind of like if it's a school district problem, that's their problem. if it's Green Valley's problem on the rate, then they need to be taking care of that. It's not our problem. I worry about the discrepancy, to me, I see in the rate we're charging Blue Springs residents and what Green Valley, or what we're charging Green Valley. I don't know what they're charging to their customer. Anyway, thank you for the explanation, though. I appreciate that. I know it's technical and all that, but I do appreciate you trying to bring it down to, you know, residential level for me.
Are there other questions from the council? I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of information, and we are talking about rate increases, so I want to make sure just to kind of summarize what I heard. I heard you say that we're really only trying to get the amount of revenue we absolutely need to maintain the system. So my first question is, do you see operational increases as well? Is it costing us more to do the same thing, or is mostly you're addressing capital in the future?
It's mainly capital. On the operating side, we do assume annual inflation in your costs. So that is built in there. So we are assuming that your operating costs are going to increase each year. But it really is more on the capital side. I mean, in the majority of studies, it's capital is driving the revenue increases. And again, you know, there's several really large projects for both utilities coming up in the next 5 to 6 years. And so we wanted to make sure that we evaluated kind of not just for the next 3 years, but for the next 6 years, what do those revenue increases look like, to that, making sure that we start on that plan now, since we know what's coming.
And I heard you say even for this fiscal year, the revenues we are bringing in do not meet what we anticipate we need even for this fiscal year.
Right.
And that's largely because of that percentage of capital you've allocated to 2025.
Right, yeah, and when we set the rates for this year, in the previous study, the CIP may have been different. So maybe they, you know, at that point in time, they were sufficient. If the CIP has changed since then, maybe now they're not recovering what we need right now. But as we do the study, so we can kind of correct that, get
So
back
we're
on
not
schedule.
looking to make the water sewer fund flush. This
Right.
is literally just to address us planning ahead, which you mentioned the capital projects were largely just maintenance and capacity planning.
Mhm.
And so this is us planning ahead for those things we see coming down in the future.
Right.
And gathering that revenue now. In addition, I heard you say we're drawing down a lot of our reserves. So we're using as much cash as we possibly legally can
Right.
without raising rates. So
Right.
it's the bare minimum we can raise rates and maintain our system at current levels.
Yes,
Okay,
right. And meet your reserves requirement.
meet the
Yep.
reserves, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I heard. I want to make sure, so.
Yes.
Any other questions before we move on? Believe it or not, this is a public hearing, so that's where we are now. We will go then to the audience. Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of, in opposition to? Any final comments from the council before we close the public hearing? We will close the public hearing. Next is item 11, introduction to reading of Bill 5339, a code amendment for sewer rates.
I'll introduce it.
First reading of Bill 5339, an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 705.130 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, to set new sewer rates for fiscal year 2025-26, fiscal year 2026-27, and fiscal year 27-28.
Your Honor, I move we approve the first reading and move to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5339, an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 705.130 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, to set new sewer rates for fiscal year 2025-26, fiscal year 2026-27, and fiscal year 2027-28.
Your Honor, move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would like to make a comment. Thank you to staff for addressing something that I felt was wrong or inadequate. You always are ahead of us, I think, on keeping us where we need to be.
Good to be planning ahead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion on second reading? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5441.
Next is item 12, introduction to reading bill 5340, code amendment for water rates. Is there an introduction?
I'll introduce it.
First reading of Bill 5340, an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 705.010 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, to set new water rates for fiscal year 2025-26, fiscal year 26-27, and fiscal year 27-28.
Your Honor, I move we approve on the first reading and move to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading Bill 5340, an ordinance repealing and replacing Section 705.010 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, to set new water rates for fiscal year 2025-26, fiscal year 26-27, and fiscal year 27-28.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5442.
Don't have any speaker appearance forms for the ordinances we're considering this evening, so we'll move on to item 14, which is introduction to reading bill 5341, code amendment regarding attorney review contracts. Is there an introduction?
Introduce it, sir.
First reading of Bill 5341, an ordinance amending Section 115.240, approval of form required of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, relating to legal review of contracts under $75,000.
Your Honor, I move we approve on the first reading and proceed to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading of Bill 5341, an ordinance amending Section 115.240, approval of form required of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, relating to legal review of contracts under $75,000.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5443.
Next is item 15, introduction and reading to bill 5342, accepting temporary construction easements.
Introduce it.
First reading Bill 5342, an ordinance accepting temporary construction and permanent utility easements from the abutting property owners for the Northwest South Outer Road Water Main Project, Project 24-08-03 CIPWA-19.
Your Honor, I move we approve on the first reading and move to the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Motion carries. Second reading.
Second reading Bill 5342, an ordinance accepting temporary construction and permanent utility easements from the abutting property owners for the Northwest South Outer Road Water Main Project, Project 24-08-03 CIPWA-19.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second reading and provide the proper ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Tholen.
Aye.
Rummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Mayor Levisay.
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 5444.
All right, we have visitor section. Don't have any speaker appearance forms. Are there any comments from council members to add this evening before we go to executive session? Councilmember Erickson.
I just want to compliment the community and the council for the support last Tuesday when the Wall That Heals came through. It was phenomenal and amazing, and all of the people that participated in that, it brought tears to my eyes, and I'm sure others. So thank you, everybody.
I went out over the weekend to experience it. I saw Doc, of course, out there and all his having a great time and recognizing veterans, so that was great. I appreciate Buckner for letting us be a part of that as well, so glad they brought it through our community. Any other comments from the council? I'll just add, between now and the next city council meeting, we do have the movie in the park is this Friday at Rotary Park. It's the movie Wicked, so great one. I'm sure we'll bring the family out. Music in the park is Sunday on the 10th. And then know from the Parks Department, next week, the indoor natatorium, the indoor water park, will be closed all week long from August 11th through the 15th for the annual maintenance. We'll make sure it's spick and span, right there, Mr. Parks Director? Clean and ready to go. It will reopen on Saturday the 16th. That is all I have between now and the next meeting. Anything else from the council? We will then go to the city clerk for a motion to move for executive session.
Mayor, a motion is in order for council to go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021, subparagraphs 2 and 9, revised statutes of Missouri for the purpose of privileged communications between a governmental body or its representative and legal counsel regarding real estate and employee groups, and that any minutes, documents, and other records discussed or taken during the closed session remain closed, and that this body stand adjourned at the completion of such session.
So move.
Second.
Second, as roll call. Roll call.
Councilmember Brummel.
Aye.
Erickson.
Yes.
Edmondson.
Aye.
Rowan.
Aye.
Kaler.
Aye.
Tholen. Aye. Mayor Livesey.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We are in executive session.